Hello loves, we are back with yet another video and welcome back to MADIMAS. I think we're on day 21, if I'm correct. Wow, oh my goodness, that's so crazy. We only have 4 more days left on MADIMAS. And so with that being said, I wanted to basically go through my 12 favorite books that I've read this year. Now I chose one book from each month that I read a book this year, because I read every month, thank goodness. But I chose my favorite book out of the books that I read each and every month, and yeah. So I just want to go ahead and get right into it. Okay, first up is January, the first book we're going to go through in this video, and the book that is the winner, because these are technically like my winning books of 2025, right? So these are my winning books, my top 12 books of the year, and the first book we have from January is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This is my bedazzled edition. Actually, I have a normal version of this over there on that shelf right there. You can't see it because the shelf is kind of covering it up. But yes, I don't like how this is shaking because you guys are on my bed kind of, but it's whatever. Yes, Caraval, it was a really good story. I think this is my favorite out of the trilogy. Everything else was kind of just like mid, but the first book was a wild ride. I loved it so much. It was so much fun. It was great. It was amazing. And I love what Stephanie Garber really did with the story. Like, she really made it like this special thing that she had for herself. Okay, and then our February read is... So this is the winner for February. I read quite a few books in February, if I am correct, and this is the winner. This is the one that I felt was the best, and this book is Fourth Wing. Now, maybe this was the best book that I read because I was like flipping between the book and the dramatized edition. I know people say when you do the dramatized edition, you have to like read the whole dramatized edition and not even read the book on your own, but I like to physically flip pages, so there were some times I was putting the audiobook away and I was actually physically reading Fourth Wing itself. And Fourth Wing is the best one in the series so far, for me at least. This is my favorite that Rebecca Yarros has wrote, that I've read at least, because I've also read The Things We Leave Unfinished or something. I don't know, but that wasn't my favorite by her. So out of everything I read by Stephanie Garber, this is my favorite book of hers. And this is just so good. I literally loved it. It was so enjoyable. It was so much fun. And I definitely need to think of everything about starting the Fourth Wing series. Just be prepared because the first book is the best one and everything else is kind of just like meh, actually Iron Flame gets so much heat and so much hate, but Iron Flame was actually a really good book. I feel like my downside was Onyx Storm because I felt like we were running in circles with Onyx Storm, but Fourth Wing is definitely a book that I enjoyed, and I do think that this one was a really good read, and I'm so glad that I got it. Okay, and the book that we read in March that is our winner, this one is oh my goodness, this author has 3 books in here. So this author that I chose for the March pick actually has 3 of her books in this list, in the list of 12. So you guys are gonna see this author's name pop up 3 times in this video. Just ignore it. She's such a good author. So the author I'm talking about is Chloe Walsh, and the book that I read in March was Binding 13, and this was phenomenal. This book, now Keeping 13, I wasn't the biggest fan. I felt like we were going through loop-de-loops, but Binding 13 is a whole other story. Binding 13 is just so much fun. It was such a great book. Honestly, I loved it so much. While I say fun, I don't mean fun as in cute fluffy romance. No, I'm talking this was the kind of fun you have where it's you connect with the characters and you love the characters so much, because this book is not fun. This book is depressing. It is sad. It is very, very dark, and please read the trigger warnings when going into the series, going into the first book. But I'm just saying, this is my favorite that I read in the month of March, and that's why it's on the list, because Chloe Walsh is such a great author. She's such a great writer, and I love how she writes and how she's not afraid to dig deeper into some dark things. People are like, oh, she's weird and she's creepy for doing this and being able to describe it so clearly, but she said it herself that all the books, or most of the books, are based off of personal experiences, off of real people she either knew or her experiences that she went through when she was these characters' ages. So I feel like it's just a retelling of her life, really, or other people's lives that she knew, and she's just writing it into stories, and I just feel like it's just so sentimental and it's so deep, and it makes you kind of connect with them more because it's kind of just like, dang, this actually happens. And it's like, it's not just like, dang, this happened to one person that Chloe Walsh had to write about. No, it's like, this happens to people on the daily. Unfortunately, it's true, but it happens to people on the daily, and it's not fun. It's not, you know, silly, goofy fun. Like, people want her to romanticize the trauma and the hurt and the things that these characters go through in these books, but it's not supposed to be romanticized. It's not supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be cute. It's not. So I like how this was written. I like how Chloe Walsh represents. Okay, now it's getting into April's book of the month, and this is and I'm so excited for the book to come out, the second book to come out in February. I literally enjoyed this book. I read this in 24 hours. Now, if you guys have been on the channel for a little bit, you might peep the title of this book because I mentioned how I read this, but this was just such a cute, fluffy, quick, like, speeding through this book kind of romance, and I really love those kind of romances, and I love those kind of books, and I just feel like this author did it so well. It was like not too high of stakes. It was actually just so much fun. And this book is First Time Caller by B.K. Borison, and this book was something else entirely. It was such a great storyline. It was just such a fun, wild ride, and this was not wild, but it was such a fun ride, you know. It is, once again, very fast-paced. It's very fluffy. It's very cutesy, and I definitely do think that this is like the book that you could be reading for fun, to pass some time, and also if you're looking for a book to finish your year off with, First Time Caller is that book, and it was so good. It was so fast-paced. I enjoyed it so much. I finished this book in 24 hours, like I mentioned before, probably less than that, because I ended up just going to sleep like before, like halfway through, and then I woke up really early just to finish this book. So probably like 8 hours if we're really thinking logically, but if we're counting my sleep time, because I go to sleep pretty early, I would say. People think I go to sleep pretty early. I just don't like staying up late. I'm tired. Like, let me go to sleep, right? So I sleep for a while. So even then, I don't even think that would be 24 hours. Whatever. I don't care about that, okay? But I'm just saying this was less than 24 hours of a read. This is May's book, Unravel Me by Tahira Mafi. Now, there was another book that I read in May that I think would have topped this, but as I'm in my walk with Christ, that book that I read in May that would have been the number one place is not a book that I would like promote on my channel or like speak of, and this was definitely the runner-up. So this, I am going to say, is the best book of May. If you don't know the lore behind me starting the Shadow Me series, I'm currently reading this entire series, except the novellas, because she refuses to read the novellas, but I'm reading the novellas. But I'm reading the entire series of Shadow Me with my best friend, and it's basically just to get her into reading, and she loves the series so much, and I love the series so much, and we're having so much fun with it. And Unravel Me was just such a good book. I feel like Ignite Me was better, but I don't know which pile, like which month I read it, but one of the books in this pile, I know which one it is, but the book that's like the winner beat it by like a little bit, so whatever. But Unravel Me was so good. I love this book so much. It was so much fun. And Shatter Me, I did not like the first book, but the second book was great, and then the third book, Ignite Me, was phenomenal. So it's just like the series continues to just get better and better and better every time you read it, because it's like you're watching Tahira's like writing evolve and change. And she has other series before this as well, but I feel like you're watching her like series evolve and change within like the Shatter Me walls and the Shatter Me realm, right? Because you're kind of just seeing like how she's growing closer with the characters, and she's building deeper connections with the characters herself, because it shows when you read the book. It shows, and that's kind of just why I love Unravel Me so much. It's such a good novel. So yes, I do think that if you didn't like Shatter Me, Unravel Me is definitely like the way to go. If you don't like Unravel Me, I will even say, like, usually I'm like, if you don't like the first two books, throw it out. But I feel like if you don't like the first two books, read the third book at least. And if you don't like the third book, then you can throw it out, because there's so many books in the series, you just keep trying and trying. But I feel like first book was not the best. The second book was pretty good, and then the third book was the best out of all the books that I've read so far. And so I feel like if you're like kind of like, oh, I don't really like the first book, please read Unravel Me. And if you don't like Unravel Me, please read Ignite Me. And if you don't like Ignite Me, then I guess throw the series away, because there's no pleasing you. Next up is June's read, and we're back to seeing Chloe Walsh. I'm gonna go ahead and say that we're back seeing Chloe Walsh once more. Okay, And this book is definitely the most heartbreaking, darkest in the Boys of Tommen series. It's so dark, it's so deep. So once again, please check out your trigger warnings. And I know that the character that this follows is based off of Chloe Walsh's life. Now, if you've read the Boys of Tommen series, you guys immediately know whose book this is and which book it is, because if you are a fan of Chloe Walsh, you know exactly that she's spoken on this, and she had a lot of controversy because this book was definitely the darkest, and it was not sugarcoated, and it was not sweet, and I feel like that's kind of like I love about Chloe Walsh. Now, I skip anything that automatically makes me uncomfortable, and I don't understand why people can't just do the same thing. If I see smut, I'm gonna skip it because it makes me uncomfortable. If I see a very uncomfortable scene between two characters or that a character's going through, I might just skip it because I personally am not going to force myself to read something that I'm uncomfortable with. But that does not mean that specifically only with like the very traumatic and uncomfortable scenes, that does not mean that it's not needed for the story. It really shows like what the characters go through, and it kind of explains, it kind of gives backstory of why this character is the way she is, and kind of gives backstory. So I just feel like I don't understand why people can't just skip it, because this story is based off of true events. It's based off of Chloe Walsh's life, and this book is Releasing 10 by Chloe Walsh, and you can see she's a chunky book. She's very chunky. And I'm still waiting on the next book for Lizzie and Hugh, but genuinely, this is the darkest out of the series so far that we've gotten. And please just read your trigger warnings. If you're uncomfortable by something, just skip it. Like, that's just what I did. I felt uncomfortable by a lot of scenes that happened between Lizzie and another character. And these scenes should not have happened, but they happened because that's just how the story goes. And unfortunately, that's just what happened to Chloe. And I skipped those scenes because those made me uncomfortable, and I understood why they were important for the story, because it's kind of just her storyline. Chloe Walsh is never going to sugarcoat something just because people might feel uncomfortable, but because she has to get the truth and the story out. If she's not telling the truth about something traumatic, then she's really just an enabler, and she tries to make it look romanticized, and that's not what she wants to do. She wants to make sure that you know the truth, and that it's not supposed to be romanticized. It's not supposed to be cute. It's not supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be silly. It's a dark story, and it's just dark, and it's deep, and it's personal to her. So why would she want to sugarcoat her drama? Releasing 10 was such a good book. Okay, next is July. I'm sorry, I went on like a full tangent there about Releasing 10, and my sincerest apologies, but I just hate seeing Chloe Walsh getting hate for her sharing her story through another character. But July's book is not that much lighthearted more, but it's kind of is, and it is The Summer of Broken Rose by Kale Walther. This book is also pretty dark, but not that dark. It has its dark elements and dark undertones, where it's like, basically this girl's sister has just passed away previously, like right before the book happens, and so that kind of just like looms over the story itself in the book as a whole, but it's not like dark as in it's like the main thing, but you kind of just see her kind of like grieve her sister, and you kind of see her overcome all of that. You try to like, you just see her process, and you see her life, and you see how she goes through and how she copes with it, as she also falls in love on this like island, I want to say, like this island or like this very tropical place, right? So yes, The Summer of Broken Rules was actually so much fun. It was such a good read, and I believe, if I remember correctly, chapters are also pretty short, if I remember correctly, but I might be tripping. Oh, yeah, I don't think they're short. Never mind. But yeah, this was a good book. August book this is the book that beat Ignite me by like a few points, because I had a little bit more fun with this book. It is a romance. It is cute. It's fluffy. It's just something lighthearted to get your mind off of all the dark stuff that we just went through for the past few months. Okay, so this book is a YA romance, and I just love YA romances. Like, they're just so much fun, and I enjoy them so much. And I feel like you can't beat a YA romance. You really can't, right? And this is Datings and Dragon by Christy Boyce. Now, there is a first book in this, like, there's another book coming out, so I don't know if it's a trilogy or a full series, but you really just, like, this series, whatever, I don't know what it is, it's just so good. It's one of a kind. It's one of a kind, really. And there is a first book, but you do not have to read the first book to read the second book. I said this in my 25 books of 2025. You don't need to read the first book to read the second book, because they are not they're not connected, they're just like, they're standalones in a series, if that makes sense. Like, you can read them in whatever order you want, because none of the characters from the other books appear in either of the books. Okay, so yeah, this is kind of just like a breakdown real quick, but this was such a nice, fluffy, cute, fun romance I just love to read. Okay, so we're on September. And this book made me bawl my eyes out, crying, like genuinely sobbing my heart out. And I think we just need to all collectively say to this author, why'd break my heart? Why? What do you gain? You gain joy from breaking my heart? No. And this book is Breaking Point by Matt Rafferty. Guys, this is a hockey romance now. Please check the trigger warnings on this one too. It's like so many of these books have trigger warnings. Oh my goodness. Like, we can't write anything fluffy and cute nowadays. Like, guess not, right? But this was just a pretty dark book. It deals with a lot of things like addiction and like grief and a lot of like medical, like it's a very dark hockey romance, and there's not a lot of smut. There's only one scene, and it's really just really at the end of the book, which I absolutely loved because we don't need a whole bunch of smut to convey or progress the story. I like it when it's not that much smut in a book, especially when it's like very heavy books. Like, really, what are we doing? What are we doing, guys? So, yes, Breaking Point was such a good and fun, silly, goofy book. Why did I say silly, goofy? It was not silly, goofy. Oh my goodness. But yeah. October's book is Shades of Red by Jane Thompson. Okay, so I have a reading vlog on this book, and this book was just so good. And I guess it kind of like, this book was good on its own. It was going to win regardless of what I read. But I'm just saying, I guess it kind of like gave it a boost. Or like, I didn't read that many good books that month, but like, it did compete against the like 2 or 3 that I read that were good. But this was just had to be the best. And the cliffhanger was heartbreaking. Characters, I love them so much. The storyline, the plot, the setting, it's just amazing. Please go read it. Go support another indie author. And speaking of indie author, I'm an indie author. You might have noticed all of these books. I wrote this novel. It's called The Ruined Royals, and it's a clean YA fantasy, and it's just so much fun. But this video is focused on the other books, so I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but I just want to like do a little bit of shameless self-promo. Right? Great. So, November's book was once again Chloe Walsh. And I'm gonna just go ahead and say this because you might be like, if you read Releasing 10, which is the most recent one, how did you. Let me give you the lore in case you're new here. But if you're not new here, then you're another lore, but it's okay. Basically, I read Binding and Keeping 13. Right. Then Releasing 10 came out by the time that I had finished Keeping 13. And I skipped to Releasing 10 because I had heard that Releasing 10 took place before all the other books, and I did not want anybody to spoil Releasing 10 for me because Lizzie's my favorite character. She's been my favorite character since day one, and so I want to enjoy, like, fully enjoy Lizzie's story as a whole, right? So I read it, and it was amazing, 5 stars, and I circled back around, skipped Joey's story, Joey and Aoife's story, and then I read Taming 7. Did not like Taming 7. It was not that good, and if I'm gonna be real honest with you, I like those characters in every book but their own, if that makes sense. Like, their own book was kind of just like, man, well, I just did not like either of them, right? So then I circled back around again because, I skipped over 2 books because I was scared to read Joey and Aoife's story, and then I read Saving 6. So with that being said, I kind of just told you guys the answer, but Saving 6 was November's book. Saving 6 by Chloe Walsh. This book is Joey's story, and Joey is the older brother of Shannon, and Shannon's book is basically Binding 13. Right now, his book is dark and deep, but we don't spend a lot of time in the house because when you read Binding 13, you notice that Joey's not really in the house that much, except unless it's like night. So we kind of just see what he was doing outside the house and how he kind of like coped, and like his dark like inner monologue and everything that we really wish to see while we were reading Binding 13. And Joey's story is not as dark as the rest, like writing wise. Obviously, like what he went through was dark, but the writing wise and like what we follow in the book, not as dark, thank goodness. Saving 6 was so good, and it was 5 stars obviously. I need to read, what's the next one? Redeeming 6. I'm terrified to read Redeeming 6, if I'm being extremely honest with you. Petrified. But we are going to do it because I want to hurt my heart, but it's whatever. Saving 6, it was so good. Book number 12, December's book. This book I just finished reading not too long ago. I read this in literally 24 hours. This book was so good. Now I see why it wins the Goodreads Choice Awards, because when I first reacted to this book winning, I was just like, ain't no way this book is that good that it beat literally Christy Boyce's book, right? I see why it beat Christy Boyce's book, because if I had read it before, I would have voted for that, but it's okay, whatever. And this book is Fake Skating by Lynn Painter. This is a hockey fake dating romance, but I feel like the fake dating kind of gives away with the title. It literally says fake skating, right? So, with that being said, this was just something that was fun. It was cute and it was quirky. It was quick. It was so fast paced, and I love the story. And I know that this book looks chunky, but it really is just like so quick to read. It's such a quick to read story, and I loved it so much. And I just like love how Lynn Painter writes. I love it so much that I purchased two of her books, The Do Over, which is just sitting right here, and then I also got Nothing Like the Movies because I read better than the movies and I never read the second one. But that's sitting on my shelf over there at the very bottom because that's where I keep my Lynn Painter books. So, and I'm not gonna get up and get that right now. Bear with me, y'all. Bear with me. Right? But, yeah. With that being said, that is all 12 books that I read this month. This year. And these are my favorites out of the 80 something books that I read this year because it's constantly changing because I'm still reading. But I think currently right now I'm sitting at 85. It's either 85 or 88. I don't know why. I don't know. Guys, I don't know why I don't know, but it's one of those, right? So, like I said in my 25 of 2025, even though I didn't read that many books that were like best top tier, because I definitely do think 2024 was the best reading year I've had so far, and I hope that 2026 gets better. But you know, I'm just grateful that I was able to read this year because some people just don't have the privilege to open up a book or read a book or listen to a book every day like I get to or like how we get to. And so I just want to go ahead and just like give all the glory to God because it's God's reason that I'm here and that I'm able to read as much as I do. And then I have the privilege to be able to read and to have access to books and have access to libraries and all that fun stuff. So yeah, you gotta just give thanks to God like all the time. So yeah. Thank you so much for watching this video. Mighty out kisses, mwah, mighty out, and goodbye.